In today's video, while exploring this very random area, I'm talking about two photography approaches you can implement when you feel that your photography is becoming a bit stale or you're in need of mixing it up a bit. And hopefully I don't get caught in the rain. But let's see what we can find. I had a slight suspicion this morning as I was walking up this path that I may have completely messed up on the location for photos today, because I was under the assumption that this area was absolutely full of interesting stuff that I particularly wanted to photograph. I'm walking up this track, it's a bit of a miss, but just behind the camera here spotted this old truck with a nice tree growing out of it. So if it is a miss and I don't find anything else today, at least I found this truck. Now I'll find more stuff, trust me, I'll find more stuff. As you may be able to see in video camera there, if I framed it up good enough, I've got these branches here that come over the top of the truck, so I really want to incorporate some of that to give a bit more context to where this truck is sitting. I can shoot it from like here and it's still nice, still ask some questions, but you get a bit of a lack of context in terms of the greenery and stuff that's around it that I think really helps. Plus it's rained this morning, so everywhere is very fresh and looks nice on camera. So the further I duck down, the higher the branches go up in the frame, and therefore I can stop them from coming over the front of the truck. And I think that looks pretty cool on camera, especially with the branch that's coming out of the top of the back of the truck. That always adds a little bit when you've got a random bit of tree just coming out of the truck. Yeah, this is really cool actually, because you get a lot more sense of that big hill in the background from up here. Now and again I'll get a comment here on my YouTube channel that says something along the lines of, I've been in a bit of a photography rut and this video really helped, or I've been struggling to find stuff to photograph and I really need to just get out with my camera again and this video gave me some inspiration. And I absolutely love comments like that, because that means even if the video gets 100 views, that the video's done its job and I've done my job as somebody that is trying to inspire other people to just get out with their camera. So having said that, I think the first thing you should do if you are feeling like your photography's got a bit boring or you're struggling to find new styles of images is to simply go out and try and photograph what you never expect to see when you went out. Often, not all the time, but often when we go out to do photography, there are preconceived ideas in our head of how we can go somewhere and come away with some good results. And this is often based off of what's worked for us in the past. For example, if I go to the beach for a day of photography, I already know that I could hang around in the sand dunes, maybe get behind some reeds and stuff like that, and watch distant silhouetted figures walk along the sand with the ocean in the distance. And there's a very, very high chance by me doing that, I will come away with a really visually pleasing frame. And I love taking those types of images and I can execute them really, really well every time I go to the beach. But if that was all that I ever did when I went to a stretch of coastline, I wouldn't come away feeling surprised. I wouldn't come away excited by the photos that I've just taken. They wouldn't have taught me anything new, and I wouldn't be kind of picking up on more styles and more ways that I can execute great photos. I'd just be coming back and being like, I did it again. I took another fantastic photo the same way that I always have done. And I believe at least that that's kind of a fast track to boredom in photography, and photography, our photos feeling a bit stale. In my opinion, it's best to try and break that pattern of just going out and shooting the same type of image that we know is going to turn out quite nice. And at the end of the day, if you go out to seek what you never photograph, it will completely change what you notice. With that in mind, if I put myself back at the beach and I completely ignore the sand dunes and I tell myself I'm not going anywhere near there, I'm going to go off and look for stuff I would never expect to be at the beach, I think that is one of the most simple but strongest ways to reignite our photography and take photos we never expected to take, which are going to in turn surprise us. If I go to Whitley Bay here in the northeast of England, I don't just go and take photos of the lighthouse for the 800th time. I go looking for stuff that I never expected to see on the day and really just try and notice anything that takes me by surprise. So tip number one is to try and photograph stuff you never expected to be taking photos of on the day when you're headed out. Stuff that surprises you, stuff that makes you say, it's cool that that's there. A bit like that truck that I photographed this morning. Walked around the corner and I was literally like, and that to me is a good sign. Told you I'd find more stuff. Can you see that in the camera? Shooting at about f2.8, so this wall in the foreground is really nice and soft. And I may do a video soon about why I rarely have everything in focus. In complete focus, that is, in my photos. I'm not too sure about this angle, there's a bit too much of the tree, so let's experiment a bit. So as I've come round to the front of it, can you see there's a little trailer there with some bits of metal in it? So it would definitely be ideal, I think, to try and incorporate that. I just don't know, we may have to come up pretty close here and make it more about that trailer than this. It's quite cool. The video I made a few weeks back about the conversation I had with my dad and how, long story short, I was really into photographing wide, vast, untouched, beautiful, pristine landscapes, and it's completely switched to this now. This is this is what I find interesting for whatever reason. But I also feel like there's been a big shift in recent years of people getting a bit sick of the explory, faked images of people that are kind of traveling all over the world and just taking these epic shots. They almost feel like photos took to try and perceive the most adventurous scene you possibly can. Like someone stood on a cliff edge, for example, with a ravine and a helicopter coming over the top. And I've been saying this for years. They've just kind of lost the wow factor because we spent years upon years upon years having them slapped in our face all over Instagram and social media or whatever. So they've just kind of lost that wow factor, and now stuff like this has become really interesting because I think maybe less people are photographing it and less people are seeing it as well. If you go on holiday, you don't think I'd really want to go somewhere where there's an abandoned caravan. Anyway, the second sort of approach I would take in regards to this topic of this video would be to go out and photograph in line with a feeling. And I haven't done this one a long time myself actually, so I should probably do it soon. But it used to drive like 90% of my photography. Instead of just heading off to the beach and saying, well, I'm going to take photos at the beach, pick a feeling and then go out and take photos that you think emit that feeling. For example, you could say, right, today I'm going to go off and I'm going to photograph loneliness. And then as you walk around and you try and find subjects, scenes, places that make you feel like the photo is the perception of loneliness, you should then start hopefully noticing things that you might in the past overlook. Or failing that, you may start molding different scenes to fit that feeling of loneliness. The sheep are very noisy here. I'm trying to film, guys. Could you just... Thank you. Anyway, loneliness could be one sheep in a field on its own. It could be a dead tree. It could be a single duck on a pond. It could be just one street light on a road that's lit up. The playground is completely yours to decide why that photo emits loneliness and why it makes you feel like it is emitting loneliness. And as simple as this may sound, the reason I feel it is so powerful is because it's typically the opposite to the way that we normally take photos. Definitely how I normally take photos, which is probably reacting to an emotion. So you're walking along and you spot something that makes you smile or makes you laugh or makes you a little bit sad, and we tend to then react to that and then take the photo. But by flipping it on its head and going out with one emotion or one feeling in mind, we then have to deliberately go and look for them. So not only is it training us to notice stuff, it's training our eye as well. It's letting those creative juices flow a bit and making you think a lot harder about the photos you're taking. What the hell? It's like a graveyard for skips. Let me show you this. I never actually knew that shipping containers had lights inside them, unless that's been specifically fitted with a light. Nice. Right, let's skedaddle. You know when you get a new car and you think not many people have the same car as you, but then you start noticing that same car everywhere you go. It's not that there's more of those cars on the road, unless it's a brand new car that's just come into production, of course, but we don't need to go into the nitty-gritty of it. It's not that there's more of those cars that you've just bought on the road, it's just that your brain is now primed to notice them because your car has somewhat of a significant meaning, or it's just at the forefront of your mind. So everywhere you go, you now notice it. And I think photography in some ways is very much like that. As we go around in our day-to-day lives and we notice things and we take photos that are a success, our brain then remembers them and primes them, and they're at the very forefront because we know they're a success, or we do them so often that we just notice those styles of photos everywhere we go. I used to be like this with foreground blur because I did it so often, it was then what I did everywhere I went, and I noticed it everywhere I went as well. And it's that pattern you kind of want to break if you do want to create something new, or you feel like your photography is feeling a bit stale. I should say as well, it's not a bad thing by any means if we notice the same styles and take the same styles of photos everywhere we go. But if you are wanting to mix it up, then you have to stop noticing that same car everywhere you go. That's going to be it from me in this one. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.